Good morning to everyone, and sorry about the cramped space. Senator Johnson, I want you all to come on up here, some of your legislators that have been so active in this, but also give a little room for folks that are coming in. And I wanted to recognize some of the groups that are here today. We have I see Speaker Gillum and Senator Dismang, President of the Senate. Thank you for your leadership on this issue. We have many legislators that have worked hard on this. We also have our Department of Corrections here is Benny Magnus here. Benny, you're back there, and I know you've got some other board members. We've got prosecutors here that have been instrumental in the conversations on this, communicating a message that we need more bed space. We have our county judges and the county associations that have expressed very vigorously the need to address overcrowding in our county jails. So I want to thank all of you for being here today and for your support in really developing the proposals that have brought us to this point. And everyone understands the current needs. We have 2,500 prisoners, state prisoners, backed up in the county jails. We have over 18,000 inmates in our state prisons, which represents a 17% growth, one of the largest growth rates in our nation in terms of prison population. We have prison overcrowding in our state prisons. We have backups in our county jails, which results in a public safety issue for our court systems whenever we are not able to detain those that pose a risk significantly in length of time. And so it's really backed up our system, and it cries out for immediate relief and a long-term solution. I've said all along that you can't have a solution simply with more bed space. You also have to have a solution that addresses the need for changed behavior. And that is part of the solution that we have looked for. And I think it illustrates it by pointing out this statistic. In 2014, there were 10,000 inmates released from prison on parole. 10,000 inmates in 1 year released from prison on parole. And that increase in caseload has crashed our parole system, has resulted in less accountability for our parolees. And if you just look at a recidivism rate of 43%, which is the average in Arkansas, that if 4,300 of those inmates return to prison over the next 3 years, then that would be a cost of $9.5 million. If we reduce that rate of repeat offenders, then we save our state money and we increase public safety. And so I have come up with a plan that costs us money, but is a balanced solution for our future that addresses the immediate need of more space, public safety, but also tries to address the challenge for changing behavior for our future over the long term. And so very simply, the plan involves three elements. First of all, more prison space. I met with the prosecutors last year. They said we need more prison space. We're accommodating that with an immediate response as well as a long-term plan. Secondly, it involves a more effective parole and reentry system that I'll outline an investment in additional parole officers, in reentry beds and programs for those leaving prison, as well as some smart sentencing, alternative sentencing program, which is the last item, which is investing in alternative and accountable sentencing programs for non-violent offenders. Those are three elements that are critical to meeting the needs quickly with more prison space, but trying to address it in a longer-term solution that will change behavior and reduce the rate of repeat offenders going back to prison. That is the plan. The cost of this plan, a few of you might be interested in. And just to give you a little background, of course, was discussion of a $100 million prison. And I resisted that as others have resisted that. And I asked our Director of Prisons, Wendy Kelly, and of course working with the Department of Corrections to come up with some alternative solutions for expanding existing bed space. And so they presented some different types of solutions that we added to it, and it really was a $50 million solution rather than a $100 million solution for additional space. And that was the target level for me. And then you would add $14 million for our community corrections and our reentry programs and alternative sentencing. So it's really a $64 million initiative. That is phased in over time. The initial investment is $32 million. So this biennium, we will invest $32 million in these three initiatives: more prison space, more effective parole systems, and investing in alternative and accountable sentencing programs. $64 million program, $32 million initial investment over this upcoming biennium. That is the strategy. Where does this funding come from? Very simply, we have $31 million that we'll ask the legislature to authorize being transferred from the reserve fund that is at the insurance department, and $2.6 million from unclaimed property recruitments. And so those two funds will give us the immediate funds that are needed for meeting the urgent need of more prison space and the community corrections program. Let me provide a few more details about the plan. The bed space, the more prison space, is going to be made up of a number of different components. It'll total 790 new beds that will come online, first of all, very quickly with a contract with Bowie County, Texas for 288 beds. And this is at a cost of $36 per day. And of course, you can contrast that with prison costs of over $60. And so that's 288 beds. You have Pine Bluff Work Center, 48 beds. You have Phase 1 and Phase 2 at the Esther unit, which has already been funded in terms of construction costs, but the operating costs were not there. And that will be 178 beds that we'll be funding with the operating cost, and that will be brought online by December 31 of this year. There's barracks at Tucker unit that can add 28 beds, Washita River unit 48 beds, and so these would all total the 790 beds that we're seeking for the immediate response. That 790 also includes 200 beds that we would look at contracts with regional county centers. And so if a county wanted to add to their jail space to house state prisoners with a contract with the state that will help with their funding initiatives, we're allocating that as a portion of the 200. If there's not a county that accepts that alternative, then we can shift that 200 beds into some of the other alternative opportunities for prison expansion. Let me move to the community corrections, which is a really important part of this initiative for the last two parts of it. It's less money, but very, very important. And that is a in round numbers, $16 million investment that will be $7.5 million over the next biennium for 52 additional parole and probation officers, support staff, and substance abuse treatment managers. This will enhance public safety by reducing caseloads. It will enhance public safety by providing for more accountability of those that are on parole. And in addition to the investment in new parole officers and probation officers, we would also put for the first time an investment in transitional reentry centers. The cost of a reentry center is $30.62, which is less than half the cost of housing the prisoner in our state institution. It will reduce the Department of Corrections population as they're moved into a reentry facility. This cost is $5.5 million for 500 parolees being able to be housed in reentry centers. This will move online quickly because of contracts that will be placed with ongoing facilities across the state. Finally, we'll invest $2.8 million in alternative sentencing grants for drug treatment courts, for smart sentencing courts, alternative sentencing courts for nonviolent offenders. That's $2.8 million that equates to $100,000 per judicial district over the next biennium. This is a significant opportunity for the state of Arkansas and a very substantial investment that taxpayers will make to increase public safety, but also to change behavior and increase accountability so that we can make sure that we're not just simply building more and bigger prisons over the next decade. In order to implement this plan, it is important to have the engagement of our faith-based organizations. I can see this opportunity with the reentry beds that are going to be invested across our state, with potential for regional centers, more prisoners being housed across the state, that the faith-based community can be engaged and the nonprofit community to really expand the investment that the state is making. This is not simply a state solution, but it should be a partnership with our faith-based organization and our nonprofit organizations. It's going to take the engagement of our legislators. I expect legislation to be introduced that will authorize this initiative. They'll take some legal changes, even though much of this is funding. It's also, though, setting up the program for the incentive grants, as well as setting up the opportunity for our reentry program to work. This will be somebody within 6 months of release from prison, 6 months of their parole eligibility date, being authorized with the approval of the parole board for admission into a reentry center where they can get work training, they can get prepared to enter into our communities. Right now, as you know, if you leave prison, you get $100 and a bus ride, a bus ticket, or something of similar fashion. That is really not going to help reduce repeat offenders from going back in. They need an opportunity. The reentry centers will help them to find their way back into society. The legislature will have to adopt this, and then finally, I ask really the close review of our prosecutors. You make our criminal justice system work. We need your help to do this, not only to keep our citizens safe, but also to make sure that we have the best chance of trying to change behavior and utilize our taxpayers' dollars in the best way possible. This is a flexible approach that, if the counties do not adopt this idea of regional centers, then we move back to increasing and expanding existing prison space. So there's many options here and a flexible approach. If we're able to change behavior and our reentry system starts working, then hopefully we'll be able to reduce the long-term investment that might be needed even in more prison facilities down the road. So with that, let me again thank the leadership of both the House and the Senate for what they've done and offered on this. I've met with them repeatedly on this initiative, and I know that I hope that you will be pleased with this announcement. I know your work on the legislation will have to be introduced.